Hello again and welcome to Sam's Kitchen Chronicles. Today we're gonna make gnocchi with mushroom cream pasta sauce. Gnocchi is just handmade Italian pasta, and it only takes 3 ingredients to make: potatoes, flour, and egg. You can think of gnocchi as Italian sujebi, and of course you can have it with whatever sauce you want. This week I asked my wife what she wanted to eat, and so she told me that she wanted gnocchi with the mushroom cream pasta sauce. And so here we are. Back in college, this was one of the first dishes I learned to make. And among my friends, we called it marriage pasta. The idea being that if I were interested in a girl and I made this pasta for her, and if I proposed to her, she would have no way of denying me. All jokes aside, fellow husbands, boyfriends, making this dish will make you look pretty impressive. So do yourself and your significant other a favor and watch the rest of this video. Alright, for the ingredients, you already know for the gnocchi, it's flour, potato, and egg. Easy. For the mushroom cream sauce, you're gonna need some mushrooms. You can use whatever mushrooms you like. You can use button mushrooms, portobello mushrooms, oyster mushrooms. Today I'm gonna go with portobello mushrooms. You'll need some garlic, onion, butter, heavy cream or whipping cream, parmesan. Use fresh grated parmesan if you can, but you can also use the one in the bottle. I'm gonna use the one in the bottle today. Herbs. For the herbs, I like to use basil and parsley, and of course salt and pepper. You can use whatever herbs you like. And you'll probably want some sort of protein. I'm gonna go with chicken. You could also use something like sirloin tip or even seafood. So to make the gnocchi, first you're gonna boil the potatoes about 15 to 20 minutes or until you can stick a chopstick through them easily. Or a fork. Chopstick. I'm Korean. Don't overdo the cooking or it'll get mushy. When they're done, take them out and peel them. Don't run them through cold water. Just let them cool a little bit, just enough so that you can handle them. You can use a towel if you need to, but you do want to keep them warm. With the potatoes, you're gonna boil and mash them, stick them in a stew. That was an automatic conditioned response. Sorry, Lord of the Rings reference. No, you're gonna boil them, you're gonna mash them, and then you're gonna make them into a dough. Boil them, mash them, make them in a dough. Now you're gonna make the dough by adding the flour and egg. Don't knead it too much. All you're doing is really mixing it until it comes together. Overworking the dough will make it too bouncy and it'll take away from the light, fluffy texture. Get your cutting board prepared. I like to use a wet paper towel to keep my cutting board in place. Get a knife, and I like to use something like this that's flexible so that you can kind of flick the pieces as you're cutting them. It keeps the process going nice and quick, but also, you know, it makes you look kind of impressive. Especially if you're whining and dining, you know? Sometimes a little showmanship goes a long way. So all you're doing is taking a little ball of dough, rolling it out. You're gonna use your knife to quickly cut the pieces and flick it. All it takes is a little flick of the wrist. Now while we're actually rolling out and cutting the gnocchi, you're gonna wanna keep the rest of the dough covered because you wanna keep it warm and you don't want it to dry out. So it's important to do this part very quickly. Now if you have the time and you're wanting to go a little bit fancier, then you can use this trick to make your gnocchi look a little bit nicer. All you're gonna do is take the pieces of gnocchi and roll them across the fork like this. Now if you're making a serving for 1 or 2, you're gonna wanna cut just as much as you need and then quickly drop them into the boiling water so that you can serve it. Otherwise, you're gonna need to store the gnocchi, and the best way to do that is to freeze them. What I usually do is place them on a plate or a cutting board and make sure that they're not touching. You can use parchment paper to keep them from sticking. You can even layer them on top of each other to save space. Now once they're frozen enough to maintain their shape, you can take the gnocchi from the freezer and store them in a bag and keep them in your freezer until they're ready to use. Don't wait too long though, otherwise they'll stay frozen and stuck to whatever surface you put them on. Keep them in the freezer just so long as they start to get hard, and when you put them together they won't stick to each other. Now find your workflow and just keep cutting until the whole dough is cut up into gnocchi. And that's it. Now for our mushroom cream pasta sauce. I don't know about you, but whenever I make sauce of any kind, I always start with garlic. So mince some garlic. Slice the onions. Slice the mushrooms. And cut your chicken. Now that you've got your ingredients all ready, let's fire up this bad boy. Put some butter in the pan, throw some garlic in there, and we're gonna start with our protein. And you wanna do the protein separately from the rest of the ingredients. You can't just toss everything in and hope it all works out. Well, theoretically you could, but you'd have to have the chicken cut into exactly the right size pieces, or you'd have to time all the ingredients and throw them in the pan at exactly the right time. But why put that pressure on yourself? Just listen to me and do the meat separately. Make sure you don't crowd the pan, spread out the chicken, and when each piece is done, you just flip it over. Now when all the chicken is done, you just take it off the pan. Okay, I'll stop chansorying about the meat. Let's move on to the next part. Let's continue making this sauce. So if you need to, you can add some more butter or oil to the pan. Add the garlic. Now the onions. And the mushrooms. Now saute until it's brown. And add the herbs. Add the cream and bring the heat down to low. Let it simmer on low heat and stir occasionally until it thickens. After you see it starting to thicken, add the Parmesan and you may season it with some salt and pepper and some more herbs if you like. Ideally, you'll want the sauce and the gnocchi to finish at the same time. But if you can only do one at a time or you only have one pan, it's better to have the sauce waiting than the gnocchi. The gnocchi is gonna get all mushy and stick together. You don't want that. So while the sauce is cooking, on another burner, if you have one, bring water to a boil, add salt and oil if you're into that. Make sure to have enough water in the pot because once you add the gnocchi, the temperature of the water is gonna drop. Or just make sure to do it in smaller batches if you don't have a really big pot. You're gonna boil this for about 2 minutes or until the gnocchi starts to float. That's when you know they're done. Also, don't overcook the gnocchi. It's better to err on the side of slightly undercooked. You're gonna want to finish it off by tossing it in a pan with the sauce anyway, so it's gonna get some extra heat. In conclusion, don't serve mushy pasta. This can jeopardize your entire plan to romance your significant other. Maybe not, but yeah, it's important. Now after you've drained the gnocchi and the sauce is done, put some of the gnocchi in a pot or a saucepan, take some of the sauce, and you're gonna toss it together. Now serve and garnish. You can add some more Parmesan and herbs if you like. In this video, I showed you how to make gnocchi with just 3 ingredients. I also showed you how I make my mushroom cream pasta sauce with gnocchi, aka marriage pasta. And after watching this video, you too should be able to pull off this recipe. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and also that this video demystified gnocchi just a bit for you. Give it a try yourself and let me know how it goes. Leave a message in the comments below. And if you like this video, remember to give it a like. Subscribe for regular updates. I upload new videos every Monday morning and Thursday morning, Korea time. Mondays are for my cookbang videos and Thursdays are for my mukbang videos. Alright, that's it for now. 이따 봐, 아거야.